Very much, Congressman Baird. We now proceed to Congressman Jonathan Jackson of Illinois and South Carolina.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Undersecretaries. Thank you, His Absence, Chairman McCall. Thank you, Ranking Member Meeks. I've had the pleasure once again to go to Israel this past September on a delegation with the Congressional Black Caucus. And from there, we went to Rwanda, and they were showing the connectivity of one culture that had experienced genocide and the other that had experienced the Holocaust and the commonality. I, like many of my colleagues, have condemned the atrocious attacks, the terrorist attacks of Hamas, and stand by that. I was one of the several of the people that stood for a ceasefire. And I want to be clear, what ceasefire means to me is, first of all, bringing back our hostages, reconciling human beings, reconciling family members. As we speak, I got another call today. There's another constituent that has a sister that is stuck at the Rafah border that needs to get out, an American citizen that is stuck at the border as well. So one question I will ask you is about following on what Mr. French Hill had discussed on what is the process, how can we make sure Americans are able to evacuate and leave there without their lives being threatened?
So we have exhaustive outreach to Americans in Gaza. We have determined just over the last 24 hours that there were an additional 100 Americans and their family members who were seeking help in getting out. We have put American citizens and their family members on lists that are shared with the Egyptian government in Israel so that there is an ability to get them in the queue, as it were. It is a difficult process from literally day to day to see to confirm the number that will be permitted through and to reach out to those who are not all queued up at Rafah. They are in different places in Gaza. But I'd be happy to talk to you after this hearing about your constituent.
I'd be glad to. Second part is one of the things that I had learned on this trip that was sponsored by AIPAC. We went from Israel to Rwanda. Is that Rwanda in 1993 had suffered 1 million lives lost in 100 days. And then they lost 5 million people there in the DRC in 2003. They ended up arresting 30,000 people that went to jail for the atrocities that happened. What ceasefire meant to me is that we can acknowledge this was an intelligence failure by the IDF that ended up creating so much of this. I am strong for defense. Israel needs its defense. I'm also for diplomacy. When this bombing in retaliation took place 30 days ago, it was taken without a confirmed ambassador to the United States or without a confirmed ambassador from the United States to Israel or to Egypt. I didn't think we had all of our diplomacy in place. And then what gives for a long-lasting peace so that we can have reconciliation amongst the people, that I'm seeing people become hardened. I live in a district where the 6-year-old child was stabbed to death. People are becoming radicalized, and we have seen this escalate over time. I am asking for a ceasefire simply to get humanitarian aid in. If there's one innocent person killed, to me that's too many. If it takes more time to ultimately root out Hamas and so that we do not kill innocent people, I am for that. Ultimately, what happened is a lesson that we saw in Afghanistan, if we've learned anything, after $2 trillion bombing Afghanistan, is that Osama bin Laden was in Pakistan across from a military base watching Netflix or Hulu in a compound with a family. He wasn't even in the country. So I would like to ask you, what is the long-term path towards peace that we are administering now in pursuit of Hamas and to reconcile these people and not making the Palestinian people feel as if they are our enemy?
An excellent question, Congressman. Look, the long-term effort is something that we are already beginning to communicate and base our diplomacy on even now. There is the urgent, issues of humanitarian assistance, assisting civilians to get out of harm's way, getting our own personnel, our own citizens out of Gaza, the hostages released. But even as we work on the urgent issues of today, we are planning for the post-conflict period when it is clear, it is indisputably clear to us, to the administration, to all of our partners in the region, that the Palestinian quest for statehood must be answered. We must contribute. We must lay out a pathway for a negotiated solution to that end. They have a right to a state. That has been recognized by multiple administrations over decades, and that quest must be answered, lest radicalization really derail it once and for all. Hamas is determined to weaponize this cause, and that is something that we must work urgently to prevent. I take your point on a ceasefire. I would just say that we are working assiduously for humanitarian pauses that will get at just the things that you're talking about. A ceasefire when it comes, or an end to hostilities when it comes, we want to see really an end to Hamas's ability to operate as it has in the past, ruling by terror, by fiat, but also perpetrating attack that really we must never let be repeated.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. I yield back. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Jackson. We now proceed to Congressman Keith Self of Texas.